And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside Los
Angeles. I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show, 888-659-3727. Joe's got me he wants me to tweet shit and all kinds of stuff right before the broadcast, and I'm going to try to, I'll do that in a second, but I had to get the show up and running, even though Joe keeps freezing. I think he's okay now. But welcome to the broadcast, guys who are watching us on GFQ, the guys from Queens Network, guys who are watching us, and ladies who are watching us on thebaldtruth.com, listening to us on iHeartRadio, iTunes Radio, Stitcher Radio, and all of the other online streaming resources. Welcome to the broadcast. If you're new to the show, this is the Hair Loss Show. And believe it or not, we have been, or at least I have been doing this broadcast for a little over 20 years. This is the 20th anniversary of The Bald Truth. Started in New York City on WABC radio, right in the city. And within about 6 months, we were nationally syndicated, went on to XM satellite radio, and now we are exclusively an online broadcast. We broadcast, obviously, all over the world. And if you have been listening to the broadcast, Jesus, Joe, you are such a loud typer.
I'm just a powerful typer.
You are. Typist. Typist. Anyway, you'll know that we get calls from all over the world. We also have a UK line, if you guys want to call it, which should be in the, if you're actually watching the program on Joe Tillman's YouTube feed, it should be in there. If it's not, he'll give it out to you guys, and he'll definitely put it in the chat. It looks like he may have frozen. Oh, no, he's not frozen. He's just doing his Mount Rushmore thing.
That's what I do, man.
Actually, it looks like he did freeze again, for a second at least.
Could be. It's something with Skype on my end.
All right, you have to reset it.
Okay.
All right, guys, call in 888-659-3727. This is the Hair Loss Show. This is our live stream. We try to do the stream at least once a week live, but we are probably going to start doing it more than once a week because we've been getting so many requests to do the show, at least to do a live stream either on YouTube or perhaps even Facebook. And we may try that and see how that works out. But this is your safe place to ask questions about anything and everything hair loss. This is really, we've been doing this, like I said, for about 20 years. And as a consumer advocate, as someone who's been dealing with hair loss for a very, very long time, as the guy who wrote the book on surgical hair restoration and the reality of what's happening in the hair loss industry, I have to say, even though the original book was written 20 years ago, not much has changed. Excuse me. But what really has changed, unfortunately, is the fact that the industry, while it has gotten better, for a while it was getting much better, it has now gotten to a point where it is devolving again rapidly. And it is probably more dangerous than it ever has been. And I'm talking about it's more dangerous than it was back in the dark ages of hair transplant surgery. And that's what's really frightening. Even though we are in 2018, there is state-of-the-art surgical hair restoration available. Most physicians and clinics who are offering hair transplant surgery are not performing it to state-of-the-art standards. And actually, at this point, the vast majority, in my view, and Joe may agree, of clinics who are starting to offer hair transplant surgery don't know what the fuck they're doing. They are buying turnkey devices. They are using the marketing of large companies who are selling these devices, and they're hanging up a shingle claiming that they're experts in the field when, in fact, most of these and I use this term loosely, surgeons have never performed surgery or hair transplant surgery in their lives. It's a very dangerous place for most consumers. And also the hair loss industry in general is a pretty shitty place. There's a new Facebook ad that seems to be circulating that everyone is kind of sending over to me. And what is it called? What is it called when they put your name on something? Tagging me in.
Oh, tagging.
And asking me if this is something that's real. Now, it's for a new low-level laser light therapy device. All I can tell you is for the guys who have contacted me about this particular device, there is some clinical data showing that low-level or LLLT can work to some degree for men and women who are dealing with hair loss. But all devices are different. Not all devices are created equal. And this particular device, at least in their online advertising, they're showing before and afters of people with wigs. And actually one image was directly taken from the hair club's website. So whoever has taken the time to write me about this, while I didn't want to put that out there online, if you're listening to the broadcast, that's the reality of this industry. And what I find fascinating is the people who are writing me these are learned people. These are people who, a couple of the guys are people who are really successful in their particular fields. They're well educated. They've, somehow made it in this world. Yet they can't tell a difference between, some cheap ass online advertising for in my view, probably a laser device that is probably manufactured in China that I could purchase for pennies on the dollar, slap the American Hair Loss Association seal on it, and then sell it just like these other guys are selling it. They contact me as though this is some sort of a new deal. This is a brand new way to stop your hair loss or to regrow hair. It's something that's cutting edge, as though they've never done any research before. And these are people who have been around me to some degree, have watched this broadcast, who have kind of been involved in what's happening on YouTube and whatever, and they're still asking me these questions. And you know why? Because it doesn't matter how old you are, how smart you are, we were all fucking vulnerable as hair loss sufferers. We just want to be helped. Wake up, Joe.
That's what it comes down to. I mean, it's like you just nailed it. Doesn't matter how learned you are, doesn't matter how experienced you are. We're all susceptible to the idea that something might work that we're not trying. And
you look so little tonight.
This is why it's such a horrible industry where so many people are harmed, because it's so easy to bring them into whatever someone's selling that day. And I've not seen this ad that you're talking about, but just the whole online world is. I mean, we started talking about this several years ago, but even compared to 6 months ago, it's worse today than it was.
Oh, it's getting worse every day, and that's the biggest issue. There's nobody out there except for us, sadly, who's really willing to go out there, put their necks on the line to tell the truth. I see a lot of other YouTubers who are trying to get a lot of, and I'm not saying that all the information they're presenting is necessarily bad information, but it seems a little misleading. The titles of their videos are misleading. What's being I don't want to say promoted, but talked about in their videos is misleading.
Well, some of the things are being promoted. I'll say it. I mean, I respect what some of these guys are doing, but at the same time, look, the bottom line is they are, putting titles up with not the most accurate references as clickbait. And then some of them, not all of them, but some of them have links where they're trying to sell stuff. Sometimes they're being direct about it. Sometimes they're not, and they're not warning people about the real dangers of this industry because they don't know themselves. And some of the things that they are sharing about what they're doing to combat hair loss or what they think people can do at home can potentially harm some of the viewers that pick up a needle and start doing a home PRP or start taking fish oil and not finding out that the fish oil is rancid and it can cause all kinds of issues. I mean, it's just the list goes on.
Well, there's also a lot of issues besides the fish oil being rancid, which you talked about. I mean, the mercury levels in fish oil capsules are, in general, they're off the charts.
Yeah.
And there was a pretty significant expose on that. I think I saw it about, 6 or 7 months ago. A lot of doctors are no longer recommending fish oil. Everyone jumped on that fish oil bandwagon. But now doctors are saying, you know what, it may be a good idea to not take that risk because you don't really know what's happening and where this fish oil is coming from.
Right.
Some of the fish oil is coming from farmed fish, which is pretty dangerous. But anyway, you're right, Joe. You are right. This is a really dirty place. We're going to take some phone calls, 888-659-3727. And I apologize, guys, if I seem a little preoccupied. Had a lot of shit going on today in studio. Did interviews all day. And then now we have to do this live stream. So it's been a pretty busy thing. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Is it me?
It is you, man.
It is you.
Hey, it's Arnold from Malta. I called you guys last week.
I'm sorry. So, you're the guy from Malta. What's your name again?
Oh, yeah.
Arnold. It's a Dutch name. You guys probably can't pronounce it. It's like Arnold, but then in Dutch.
Okay, so Arnold. I'm going to call you Arnold. What's happening, man?
That'll work.
Arnold, it's fine. I want to thank you guys for having the show. Last time I just bombarded you guys with questions, but it's good that you guys have the show to stay true to the facts. Like for instance, for finasteride, even though I tried it and I had some side effects, I'm still happy about it. That I did know that that's the most effective way to combat hair loss and to not give in to fear mongering and stuff.
Well, listen, I'm glad that you gave it a shot. And if I remember correctly, you were asking us or asking Joe about topical finasteride as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what's going on right now? I mean, you asked us a lot of questions the last time you called. What do you need? And you just going to get a call to give us some updates or what?
Well, right now I'm just using Minoxidil, but I had some questions. Maybe you guys know, what I heard that the side effect Gynecomastia, because I got Gynecomastia within 2 or 3 months from the finasteride. Well, it started to show up, so I discontinued the medication. I want to know, maybe you guys have heard of some people if lowering the dosage works for if I would still be able to take finasteride if I, for instance, lower the dosage.
We talk about that. We talk about that a lot. And one thing that we have to preface every time we speak about this is that we're not physicians. In my experience, it is definitely a dose-dependent drug, and some people will experience less side effects if they lower their dosage while still seeing benefits from the drug. So I guess it's possible. And the thing about gynecomastia is you really, or at least usually, you start to feel it before you actually see it, which is good. So you'll get a sense of whether or not you're dealing with adverse side effects or you're dealing with gynecomastia again if you decide to lower your dosage. Now, my advice would be to talk to your doctor about it. But Joe, you stated the last time that, and I haven't seen a lot of it either. I've only heard of gyno maybe, at least people have contacted me, probably less than 5 times in my entire career.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd say the same. I've not had a whole lot of people tell me that they've had issues with it or experienced with. Maybe 10 times. I mean, 5 times probably not quite right. Maybe 10 times, but even that is just an extremely small percentage of all the people I've talked to. It's something that and I think your question was if you cut back, can that issue be reduced? I don't see why not. I mean, in a lot of cases, if you stop taking it.
By the way, Joe, you're frozen again.
Am I frozen? God bless it, man. Let's see. Switch this one. Yeah, the thing is that if you cease taking the medication, then a lot of times that can alleviate the issue. So I don't see why reducing your intake couldn't have a similar effect. Talk to your doctor about it, obviously. But I've seen that, so yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, well, the problem is, me being a Malta, like, you guys know way more about it than the most doctors, so yeah. But
we may know a lot about it based on our experience and also just, being in the field for so long. But the reality is, I mean, there are some doctors who kind of have a little idea and have had some experience with, and usually these guys are guys who are in the hair transplant industry. They prescribe a lot of finasteride. So I usually suggest that you contact someone, but I think you're in Malta, so I don't know who you would go to as far as currently who's doing hair transplants in Malta. Do you know anybody, Joe?
I've never heard of anyone in Malta.
Yeah.
No.
I only saw like one clinic, but it's not really like a clinic specific for like hair. It's not like a hair clinic itself, so
right.
Not a good plan to do it over there.
Well, how do you get your finasteride now? Or how were you getting it?
Well, I got it from like a dermatologist, but she wanted to prescribe me Minoxidil, but I wanted to give a finasteride first try because it's like the most effective way of combating hair loss. But I had a question because like I did saw like the Gynecomastia start to show up, and right now I'm just sticking with Minoxidil. So I was thinking of just like letting the side, because I heard that it goes away most of the time. So I think I'll just wait it out for like half a year and let it the side effects subside. But would you guys recommend starting with topical finasteride then, or maybe like a lower dosage of finasteride itself?
I'll give you my advice, and then I'll let obviously Joe answer. But listen, we know that topical finasteride can benefit some people, but we also know that the likelihood of it benefiting you as much as taking it orally is a lot less likely. Meaning that you may see some benefits, but in the long term, I really think in order to lower DHT successfully and significantly, you probably have to take the drug orally. Now, Joe, you've seen some stuff in clinic as far as guys who are using topical finasteride, and I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of it and that it can't help people, but I think that if someone's willing to take it orally, and like this guy and lower his dosage, that might be his best bet.
Well, I agree. But before I get into that, I want to kind of backtrack a bit because I was reminded of, what Arnold was saying about how we know more than a lot of doctors. Someone on my YouTube channel said something about this issue because I was talking about finasteride and how the side effects. We've beat this to death, but how the side effects usually aren't anywhere near as severe as what people read about online. And this one guy said, "What do you know? You can't really know this. Doctors know everything about finasteride." And I read it and I kind of chuckled and didn't bother responding because it would just take a small encyclopedia of a response to explain it, but. I do want to address that, and Arnold, I really appreciate your support in that, and it's very kind of you to say. We are not doctors, but in general, when you're talking about doctors and finasteride, when you go to a doctor and you ask their opinion about it, like your GP or anyone outside of the hair industry, the way that they find out about what it's going to do for you is they're going to crack open a reference guide.
Yeah, they crack open
and they're going to read about it.
The physician's desk reference, like my doctor did back in 1994.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way that doctors are not chemists. They're not pharmacists. They don't know, and even pharmacists, if you mention a drug to them, they have to look it up themselves as well. No one knows every medication out there and how it's going to work for you, what the side effects are, what kind of interaction it's going to have with other medications. So while Spencer and I may not be doctors, we know a hell of a lot more than a lot of doctors about finasteride only because of our experience with it.
Well, and I guess to be honest with you, I wrote the book on it initially.
And he did write the book on it. There's that, but
whatever, you know. Yeah,
but whatever. Yeah. No, but I want to address that. But back to your specific question, the difference between topical and oral. I had a video about this where talking about there is no cure for hair loss, where topical finasteride is effective, but I don't feel in my experience that it's as effective as oral, because with oral medication of any kind compared to the topical alternative of the same medication is going to be more effective. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, it doesn't have the barrier of the skin and everything else to get through to give you the desired effect. Same thing with minoxidil. If you take minoxidil, you're not going to have the same efficacy as you will with Lonitin, which is the original version of minoxidil. Lonitin is a blood pressure medication usually prescribed as a 10 milligram tablet, but I believe you can get smaller tablets now. Some doctors do prescribe it for hair loss. I considered it, but the side effects would make some of you guys lose your fucking minds. And they're a lot more dangerous than what you'd find with finasteride, including, heart problems.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that was an awesome freeze, by the way. You're totally frozen with your mouth open, Joe.
God, I actually paused for effect and it wound up freezing. Damn it. This is pissing me off.
So yeah, anyway. I mean, obviously Joe agrees, and I've been on the drug for many years, over 2 decades, and I have also known guys who have switched from oral finasteride, even though they weren't having any adverse side effects, just based on fear, and then went on topical finasteride, and they started to lose ground. Now, you're in a different situation because you did have adverse side effects, and your gynecomastia was obviously very real. But with that said, like Joe stated, and I stated earlier, I believe that it's dose dependent, and I believe that there are people who have side effects, and even guys who have had gynecomastia, a couple of guys who had it over the years, who chose to lower their dose. And like I said, I've maybe spoken to 5, maybe 6 guys. They seem to get away with lowering their dose. Now, I don't know if it was as effective for them as their full dosage, but they came back and said they seemed to be seeing a cessation of their hair loss without side effects. So I guess the bottom line is you have to make that decision for yourself and talk to your doctor about it. But the good thing about gynecomastia, it is a side effect that is very noticeable before it becomes visible, meaning that you usually feel it in most cases before you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've read into the research, and I read one study, and it said that the finasteride has a flat response rate on any dosage from 0.25 milligrams up to 5 milligrams. But anecdotally, you say people have less side effects with less of a dosage, right?
Yes, and that's anecdotal, but we've been doing this for a long time, and again, we're not physicians, but I've seen this time and time again. That there are guys.
Not to mention, and I'll jump in. I remember a guy I've known for many years, specifically. To say it's not dose dependent is silly when he was on 5 milligrams of Proscar for several years, and his doctor said, "Oh, you know what? It's not dose dependent. You can go down to 1 milligram of Propecia, or just take a quarter tablet of Proscar," and in 6 months his hair fell out. So it was stable up to that point as well. So I mean, it's just too much anecdotal evidence.
I gotta tell you, and those stories scare the shit out of me.
I know, right? It's I mean, he's like, "Oh, okay, doc, you know best," and went down to a quarter tablet, and he paid the price.
Yeah, I mean, if I couldn't pay whatever, a car note, whatever, I would get rid of the car in order to be able to afford my Propecia or my Proscar. That's how strongly I feel about it. It's changed my life to that degree.
It's worth that much.
Oh my God, I would get rid of friends and family for that drug.
He's not kidding either. He would.
I'd be like, "Sorry guys, It's my hair. I mean, you got to understand that.
You understand. Yeah, it's like, I love you guys. Goodbye.
Having trouble with my headset. I don't know if it's my ears or what. Anyway, listen, man. I appreciate the call. I would, talk to your doctor about it. I think that the fact that you caught your gynecomastia in time, it reversed. At least that's what you're telling us. I mean, did you actually see puffiness in your nipples, or did you just feel it? I don't remember.
Well, like at first I didn't notice anything because I'm not looking constantly. Wasn't really worried about the side effect.
Right.
And so I didn't really look at it. And then at some point it got like sensitive. And I was looking in the mirror. Well, there's not really like that big of a difference.
Right.
And at some point it started turning into some stabbing pain. And then, but it was already like after 2 or 3 months. So I'm probably pretty sensitive to the drug. But I was wondering, it might not actually be like, well, I'm wondering if it's like the total amount of DHT that's being suppressed, or maybe just like the amount of finasteride I introduced to right away, because I'm taking like 1 milligram every day right off the bat. So maybe if I introduce it slowly, maybe then my body will get used to it. I'm not sure.
Well, that's actually that's actually a possibility, and we talk about intermittent therapy, or we talk about gradually increasing your dosage over time, starting out with a lower dosage, and that's one way to do it. And again, I have to say it again for anyone who's just tuning in: I am not a physician, but that is certainly one way to do it. And you can take 1 milligram dose every 3 days to start if you wanted to.
I actually have. I've told several people actually a way to take it that I think is very effective. I've actually had a lot of people tell me that it has been effective for them. If you can get 5 milligram Proscar and not the 1 milligram tablet, it's easier when you can cut the pill. I was telling people, or I still tell people sometimes, to take a quarter tablet once a week for a month, like every Monday. And then you can take 2 tablets a week for the second month, Mondays and Thursdays. And then the third month, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then the fourth month, you can move to 5 days a week or move up to a full 7-day week. And if you do wind up getting indicators of side effects, you can actually, you can hold steady and the side effects might dissipate, or you can back off to the previous intake frequency that you're at before and hold steady there and see how that works out.
Right. But you think it's more effective to do it that way instead of like topical finasteride? You think like trying to slowly introduce it to your system, see how it goes, it will have like more of a benefit than
I think that if you can somehow manage to take oral finasteride above topical finasteride, whatever you need to do to ease yourself into that, I think that'll be more effective for you than topical. In other words, if you can get positive effects, positive benefits from the topical finasteride, you'll definitely get benefits from the oral that should be above and beyond what you get with the topical.
Okay, but I've also read that like if you take it like once a week, like your hormones will like fluctuate a lot. Do you think that will be like of any problem if I take it, for instance, like
I've never had anyone tell me it's a problem.
This guy like the Maltese Joe from Staten Island.
I'm telling you, yeah. I'll put you like this, Arnold. I've got several people that contact me saying, "Hey, I've got side effects. What do you recommend I do?" I stopped taking the medication, and this is what I told them to try. And they come back and say, after 6 months or a year or whatever, they're like, "It worked. I'm on it. No issues. It seems to be holding me steady. No loss and no side effects." So, yeah, of course, things are going to be fluctuating, but things, your internal chemistry fluctuates after you eat a candy bar. I mean,
right.
Of course, it's going to fluctuate. You fluctuate every day, regardless.
Well, look, man, let us know what you decide to do. Get back to us. I have a feeling. And listen, it's just a feeling. But if you lower your dosage or start with intermittent therapy, and again, you should talk to your doctor about this, that you have a much less of a chance of experiencing adverse side effects. So,
right, okay. Well, thank you very much for you guys for answering my questions.
Oh, listen, I appreciate the call. And you call back next week. Let us know what you decide to do or whenever you want to call.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
You take care. Thanks. Bye-bye. 888-659-3727. I hope he knew I was joking about the Joe from Staten Island deal. Joe just always continued to ask a lot of questions. It was one more question. I said, I hope our friend from Malta understands the Joe from Staten Island reference. It's not an insult.
I don't think he understands the reference, but I'm sure he understands it's not an insult.
All right, let's take another phone call. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, hi.
This is George from California.
George from California.
Hello, George.
How are you, man?
Yeah, good, man. How about you guys?
We're hanging in there. What's up?
Can't complain.
Right on. Okay, so I just have pretty much just one question regarding finasteride. So I'm 23, about to be 24 years old. I'm showing signs of baldness. I've been showing them for about, I want to say 2-3 years now. And I went through this rough patch when I was engaged, and it all kind of went out the window, and I got really stressed out during that time.
Dude, you dodged a bullet. Just think of it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people told me.
Yeah.
During that time, when I would shower, I started noticing that I would lose a ton of hair. Like I would just lose clumps of it, and I was, and then I would get even more stressed out because I was seeing that. You know what I mean? So, but after it all kind of went down, I guess it kind of stabilized. But I did lose a lot. Now I'm kind of getting more concerned because I'm starting to see, more of my forehead and kind of there from relatives and family. You kind of get concerned. I want to get on that medication, but I was wondering, I mean, like I know that you guys aren't physicians and, you guys stress that and repeat that time after time. But as far as getting on it, do you guys normally go for like a test? Do you guys check your DHT levels? Do you guys just kind of go jump in the water and take it, or?
Well, that's actually a good question. Now, when I started taking it, no one knew what to do. So I didn't test my DHT levels. I didn't test my PSA. I didn't have a PSA test to see what my baseline was, which is usually a good idea, but it's not. Most doctors will tell you it's really not necessary. The problem with inhibiting DHT or using a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor is that it masks your PSA levels, which could mask the possibility that you have prostate cancer or a high PSA level. So normally what happens when you're in your 40s or mid-40s, when they start to test your PSA, they will double the number if you are on finasteride, just to make sure that you're not dealing with anything like a high PSA. I kind of think that doing the test is almost a waste of time, but for some people, it allays their fears. I don't know how you feel about that, Joe.
Well, before I get into it, is the caller got a window down in his car or something, or is?
Yeah, it's pretty noisy, dude.
Getting a lot of noise in the background.
I'm driving home.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's much better. Yeah. I think that I never took a PSA test. I never checked anything. It was back in 2003, and Dr. Wong said, "You need to take this." I was like, "Oh, okay," and so I did, and have been ever since. I think that you're 23. I don't think it's. I wouldn't be interested in doing it myself. The only reason why I would be interested in doing it is if I ever had a desire to track my testosterone levels for weight training or stuff like that. But I wouldn't be concerned about going for the whole battery test to get a baseline. It's your call. I mean, some people really anal about this kind of stuff and they really want to know the details, but in my opinion, the details don't make a difference to how it's going to actually work for you or not work for you. It's just personal preference.
I gotcha. Yeah. And the reason I ask, I mean, just as you guys state too, it's like, once you start going through this, I guess, balding process, you start investigating and you start going on forums and blogs and you hear all these jokers talking about, these tests they take or what their take was. And, I mean, sometimes you really don't know who to trust. I mean.
Well, here's the problem. You have the guys who are dealing with post-finasteride syndrome, or whether they are dealing with it or they think they're dealing with it. And then you have doctors who are kind of jumping on that post-finasteride syndrome bandwagon, and also attorneys, which unfortunately I think that if you really research a lot of the doctors who are involved in treating guys with post-finasteride syndrome, a lot of these guys are very fringe physicians. Some of them are DOs who really are not endocrinologists. Some of them are, anti-aging specialists, which really means nothing. They may just be internists.
Right.
And they kind of jump on this testosterone replacement therapy and all different types of therapy to try to treat guys who believe they're suffering from post-finasteride syndrome. So you hear a lot of talk about what tests you should consider before you actually jump on the drug, just to kind of give yourself an idea of where your baseline is, where your testosterone levels are, where your DHT levels are, just in case you do have an issue or some sort of they call it a crash. There's really no one who prescribes finasteride on a regular basis who suggests taking any of these tests. So what I'm saying is most of the guys out there who are prescribing to thousands of patients a year, they don't require that you take any of these tests. But it is certainly up to you. I personally, I never felt the need to. I've had my PSA tested a couple of times as an older adult, and they usually do double those averages just in case, and I'm fine. But at your age, I wouldn't be too concerned, but that's something you need to talk to your doctor about and see what your prescribing physician says.
Right. Okay. Well, that sounds good. Yeah.
I hope that was clear. We're trying to just, I don't want to set you on the wrong path. I mean, it may be of some benefit to you to have these tests performed, but I will tell you that most guys or most prescribing physicians don't require them.
Right.
Okay. No, definitely clear. And, yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, that's the question I had, and thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Listening, and I really appreciate you guys' the show.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate the call, and I wish you the best of luck. All right, take care. Thanks.
Thanks for calling.
888-659-3727. We got a guy in the chat room, Ali, who's asking about Andrew Zarian. We are still running the program through the GFQ network. We just used Joe's player on The Bald Truth tonight. Because I was having some issues with the GFQ player or the Twitch player on my site. But if you go to gfqlive.tv, you will see the program on their feed. And, of course, they are syndicating the program on Stitcher Radio, iTunes Radio, iHeartRadio, on Roku boxes, and on all of our other live syndicated streams. So, no, GFQ is still around. Andrew Zarian's still around. He's just busy. Like he's a baby-making factory now.
Yeah.
So he hasn't had
about this the other day.
Yeah, he hasn't had the opportunity to call the show. He does his programs, Matt Men. I think he still does What the Tech. I don't know if he does any other broadcasts right now. But he's a busy dude. He's got 2 little kids. He's got a whole family. It's a whole thing.
2 little kids, a wife, house, mortgage.
Yeah. He's got his dad living with him.
Oh, his dad's Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
He's got 2 brothers living with him. Or one brother. One brother still lives with him. The other brother is out.
It's that kind of house.
Yeah, it's a busy household. And there's lots of scavenger hunts and parties and all kinds of things that he has to deal with. So it's actually I had Thanksgiving. I was invited to the Zarians for Thanksgiving, and I have to tell you that it was one of the best Thanksgivings I've ever had.
That's cool. I can't imagine it being a boring Thanksgiving.
Oh my God, we were just getting loaded, and just even his Jess's grandmother. I mean, just really nice, down to earth, just good people.
Yeah,
I really had a good time.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah, I'm saying that so I get another invite for next year. Anyway, 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. And that's right, they are definitely the salt of the earth. Good people. Hey, you are on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
This is Rob from Florida, the token black man. How's it going?
What's happening, man?
Rob.
What's it? Black hair matters, dude.
Yeah, that's right. Quick question for y'all. I've been seeing these new videos on YouTube, of course, about this new drug called Whey, and I want to get your input on it.
No way.
No way.
I didn't even bother with it. I'm sorry to bum people out about it, but I didn't even bother because I was kind of an experiment and lack of interest. I thought, well, let's see if this actually leads to anything that's worth talking about. And there are some people talking about it online, and still nothing. And the adage still sticks. If it's not on the cover of Time magazine, if it's not on NBC Nightly News with whoever replaced Tom Brokaw, then it's another 5 years away type of deal.
Look, and the point is that anyone who's promoting it as a new hair loss cure, 2018 hair loss cure, essentially, you wouldn't just see it. Yeah, it's getting some press for sure, to some degree. Now, you're talking about this is the osteoporosis drug, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's getting some press for sure. Our contributor Specs. For the UK show, Spencer Stevenson got a tremendous amount of press through the BBC, and the Bald Truth got a tremendous amount of traffic, and so did Bald Truth Talk from that press. And the bottom line is, it's great. The press will pick up this, this type of news, quote unquote, because it's sexy. It gets listeners. It gets eyeballs. But as of today, this is not something that's going to cure hair loss in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I think
all these stories that you see, they haven't changed a bit. It's just the source of the info, but it's the same story every time. I was on TV 10 years ago. A station wanted to talk to someone that knew about hair loss, and they came to the clinic where I was working and interviewed me to get my take on a hair that was grown on some bald mouse.
Yeah.
I felt so unsure of what to say because I wanted to scream out, "Who gives a shit?"
Yeah, no,
but I had to, it's like I was getting the exposure, and it's like, okay, I'll talk about it. But
the truth is, it doesn't matter what you say because I've been on the news, I've been interviewed, and the stuff that I say that does not meet the producer's vision of the story does not get in.
Yeah, they edit
it out.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I have been so heavily edited. I always tell people when they go on television, like I have a tendency to pause. When I go on live television, it's just one run-on sentence. So they can't edit me.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I would definitely not, there's a lot of guys who are trying to capitalize on this on YouTube, who are trying to get eyeballs. I understand that. But the reality is, I can almost guarantee that nothing's going to come of this. And if it does, it's going to be a decade down the road.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
I want it to. Believe me, it would be great. I want this to be over. I don't want to pay my bald spot. I want to know that, I will continue to have hair for the rest of my life. I don't like the idea of possibly losing ground as I get older, or finasteride not being as effective for me. So I'm in this with you guys. I want to see this happen, but I'm just being realistic.
No, definitely. Now, Spencer, you said something the other week regarding, or maybe it was Joe, I'm not sure. Basically, I want to let you guys know exactly what I'm taking right now. I'm questioning stopping the biotin that I've been taking. So let me just let you. I'm basically taking 1 microgram of finasteride. I do take the generic one from Publix, and I've been doing topical for the past month once a night before going to bed. So I'm doing that. I'm also taking biotin 5 megagrams, and what else? I've been taking a vitamin D before or after meals because my vitamin
vitamin D3 or just vitamin D?
Vitamin D3, which is vitamin D3/K2. It's a compound.
Sure.
And I've been doing that because in the past when I've had blood work, my vitamin D levels have been slightly on the low side, so I've been taking that.
Well, I mean, in general, dark-skinned people have a lot more trouble synthesizing vitamin D from the sun. So unless you're in the sun a lot, you're going to have low vitamin D levels.
Right.
Exactly. And even though I live down here in Florida, I mean, I barely go out in the sun, So So that's pretty much why I take that. So that's what I've been on. I do have a Therodome, which I use like once a week, but I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with that. I feel like it has maintained, but at the same time, one of the things you mentioned, Spencer, was Joe, that unless you do one thing at a time, you don't really know what's actually helping and what's not.
That's right.
So that's what that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know if it's really, at least for as far as the biotin goes, if I should continue with it or not, or,
Well, why are you taking biotin to begin with?
Because when I had my procedure done, my doctor at the time said to stick with the finasteride, biotin, and minoxidil. And he said synergetically the three worked really well together. However, after I saw your video on your channel, Joe, regarding the vitamins and things like that, I want to make sure I'm not putting anything stupid in my body that's not necessary. I also do take lysine, which I had taken that once a day after my surgery. Lysine, yeah. It actually, I feel like it's helped my digestive system a lot. But again, I'm not sure if I should continue with that. Right now I'm taking it once every 3 days. Before I was taking it every single day. So, and right now, once every 3 days seems to maintain exactly the results that I had before as far as my digestive system goes. So that's why that's where I'm at right now, trying to figure out exactly what to weed out, what to keep, and how I should know what's working and what's not working. So.
Well, here's the issue. I mean, Joe did do a video on this stuff, and there are people who do have issues with biotin. But in general, based on all the information that I know, if you're taking a relatively low dosage and you're not, taking, some doctors or some hair specialists recommend extremely high dosages of biotin, which, as Joe mentioned, could cause some issues. Joe, you froze again, man.
Yeah, I'm writing you something. Your audio keeps dropping out.
I like to freeze where his mouth was wide open.
Now, is my audio dropping out for you, or is my audio dropping out for the caller, or is it just dropping out for you?
Well, for me, definitely. Like just now, it did.
Okay.
Rob, how about you?
Well, I mean, I just see when you freeze up, Joe.
Okay, but
the audio,
as far as me speaking with you, my audio is clear to you, right?
It just dropped again.
Clear, yeah.
Okay.
The bell.
Okay.
All right. And guys who are watching on Joe's page, let me know if the audio is dropping.
Jay Jones says that he hears you okay.
Okay. Which you did.
And FSK UK represent. Yeah, he says fine.
Okay. So, Joe, you talked about audio. You talked about biotin. Why don't you give Rob your spiel on that? And what
I
his
talked
thoughts
about
are.
what? You dropped out.
You spoke about biotin on your video.
Oh yeah. Look, I think that I'm not a fan of people just stopping their routine if it's working for them. But when it comes to biotin, I think that if you have a biotin deficiency, then keep taking it. But most likely you don't. I mean, if you eat normal food, and I'm not talking chips and soda. If you eat normal food, even going to fast food joint, you're going to get your biotin because it's in all kinds of food, and you don't need much to have healthy hair. If you have a biotin deficiency, one thing that you'll notice is that your hair is brittle, which means it's not going to grow very long because it's going to break off. The hair shaft is going to break off prematurely before the hair grows to its full length and goes into telogen again. So that might be another. I just now realized that actually it might be another reason why people think that it helps with actual hair growth. It helps the quality of the hair, but it doesn't help anything else beyond that I'm aware of. In the video, I was talking about an alternative, which is MSM, which has no side effects. There's no interaction with other normal medications. It's a very benign mineral that's already in your system, and that really kicks in the growth as far as accelerated growth, which translates, it makes sense to me that it's just making the hair healthier. Your nails will grow faster. You have to get them clipped more often. Your hair, if you cut your hair once a month, you probably have to cut it once every 2 weeks.
Joe, you froze again. But by the way, it's important that you guys know that biotin deficiency, as Joe stated, is extremely rare. And in most cases, it has to be something that's almost brought on by significant dietary changes. Like, back in like
scurvy.
Well, but back in like the mid 70s after Rocky, everyone was starting to do these raw egg things, for their protein. And if you have a lot of egg whites, raw egg whites, which is unusual, but for a while people were doing it, you actually there's something called, I think it's called Avid, that actually destroys biotin in your body. And egg whites contain that if they're raw. So if you're eating a lot of raw egg whites, you can cause biotin deficiency. If you are not getting your normal B vitamins, part of the B family, and like Joe said, that's from any food. I mean, if you just go and have, two pieces of meat a week, you're going to have all of the biotin that you need.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, your stomach bacteria will scavenge some of the biotin, but for the most part, it's very difficult to have a deficiency. So that's why I usually call bullshit on biotin, but it's probably not going to hurt you if you're taking a normal dose.
Well, how much are you taking? Because if you're taking too much, it can inhibit the absorption of was it B5, I think, and a couple other things. So if you're taking like a high dosage of it, then you might, at the very least, cut back on it.
Well, I originally was taking 5 megagrams for about a year. Then I started to take the 10 for about 5 or 6 months, and then I didn't see any change, so I switched back to the 5. So I've been on 5 megagrams a day.
Okay.
I mean, I would talk to your doctor about it. I mean, there's really no data showing that, taking that is going to cause a major issue. But we don't know. I mean, there's a lot of studies that haven't been done. Yeah.
I'm more of, am I taking this for no reason at all? Or, you see what I'm saying? Like, I
hate to say it, but you probably are. But I also agree with Joe that you don't want to fuck. If you're doing well right now, if your hair is stable, you feel good, then I wouldn't fuck with anything.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. I mean, you're already sitting there, like an idiot with a helmet on your head. So, I mean, what the fuck?
The women dig it. I'm their hero.
What'd you say? The chicks dig it?
The chicks dig it. All I need is a cape now.
But I think about these guys. You see these things online. And I think about the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of guys every night, whether they're doing it in front of their spouses or they're doing it in hiding. They're sitting there watching television with these crazy helmets on.
I can't.
With these caps on.
I wouldn't be able to respect myself if I sat even by myself with this fucking helmet on my head.
Oh, listen, if I knew that it worked for sure, forget about the helmet. I would have a medical grade, one of the big hair dryer devices in back of my chair.
I had one in my office for that video I made about it.
In my living room, and it would sit there like a hair dryer on my head every night. I don't care who came over. I have no shame when it comes to that.
I ended up getting this one for free, so I mean, I figure, hey, if it works, it works. Great. If not, then that's fine too.
No, and I agree. Listen, I'm obviously just busting balls, but I do think it's kind of like, God, we are all so fucked up and desperate.
Wear something you find from Mork and Mindy on her heads.
Yeah, but Rob, I think, it sounds like you're doing pretty well. And it sounds like, I know you've had surgery, and I know that you are unhappy, if I remember, with the symmetry of your hairline. But in general, you said you feel pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I can make it perfect by just adding, spending 5 minutes a day putting a little touch up with hair illusions, and I'm basically just trying out what the topical now with the oral for about a year and see if it halts right where it's at. If it stays right where it's at and nothing changes, then I don't see myself going into another surgery. If for some reason I feel like I'm losing ground, then I may think about either doing, another 500,000 grafts or getting
500,000 or 500 or 1,000.
That's a lot of hair, man.
500 to 1,000. 500 to 1,000.
It's like, well, this guy's hardcore, man. He's going to be killing people for their hair.
telling you.
Or just getting SMP, which I'm still hesitant of. I'm just going to do my research over the next year and chill and see what happens. So we'll,
Here's the good news. The fact that black hair matters, but the fact that you are dark-skinned and you can wear your hair short, and that you actually have, I think, better options when it comes to, I think SMP is definitely better. What's the word I'm looking for? Better geared towards African Americans, Latino, dark-skinned people. Also, varies with specific types of more defined shaped hairlines than Caucasians. I've seen some really good work, especially with the temporary SMP or the trigopigmentation.
Trigopigmentation, yeah.
But with that said, it's still something that you're going to have to keep up with. It is an ongoing. Exactly. It's an ongoing cost. There are going to be times when you feel, wait a second, it's fading. I don't feel as comfortable in my own skin as I did, say, 3 weeks ago or 2 months ago or whatever. When you go back in to get it done, there is, even if it's fading, it's difficult. And Joe, you've had this done a couple of times, but it's kind of difficult to go over the exact same spots without having some sort of a bleeding effect or where the ink bleeds, and it kind of makes a larger mark, even if it's fading. So basically, I think with trigopigmentation, the best way to do is you have to wait till it fades completely to redo it. I don't know if you agree with that, Joe.
No, I had it done a few times where it hadn't faded completely, and it also depends on. There are a lot of factors that go into this, but if it's just starting to fade, then it's too soon. But if it's been fading for a while, then it's safer, cosmetically speaking, to go back in and tap those out. But again, it's very subjective. However, if you have a lot of hair already, you're doing a filler effect, or what some people talk about as being the topic effect. That's a different ballgame. That's a different ballgame because you, from what you were telling us, in I think the first time you called or second time you called the show, you have a lot of hair. You really don't have any cosmetic hair loss at this point because of the work that you've had done. You're just greedy. You got hair greed, which is fine.
Well, the thing is, I mean, if you look at my head, like when my hair is like just shaved, I can blend it so that you could, you'd have to do a double take to see that the imperfections. When the hair grows out after about 2 weeks, you definitely can see the areas where my hair is thinning, and the crown for sure. Also on the right side of my front part of my head, and the temporals as well. So you definitely can see it. However, the way that I work the magic of I call hair illusions, you cannot see it. Nobody tells. So I'm able to mask it, but it would be nice to not have to do that.
I like to be 6'3" and a porn star. It's not going to happen, dude. I mean. That's the problem. And, the more surgery you have, each time you undergo surgery, the greater risk you're dealing with as far as, trying to make something perfect, you could really fuck yourself up.
Yeah, and that's why you guys, convinced me not to go through with the procedure like I was going to in June. You're logically what you're saying does make sense, so that's why I'm listening to y'all to make sure I don't make decisions.
And I'm glad. And listen, it's not great that you have to paint your head or that I have to paint my head. It's not the optimal way to live your life. But you know what? It's not so bad because the truth is, at least we can do it. There's a lot of guys that don't even have that option.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. So I mean, if you tell somebody to paint your head and it freaks them out, whatever. They can go fuck themselves. Move on.
All right, guys. A lot.
All right, Rob. Listen, always a pleasure, man. Good luck.
Good hearing from you.
You too. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Joe, you still having trouble? Are you still having trouble, Joe?
Yeah. Well, your audio keeps cutting out. It's getting worse. I'm gonna hang up and call back.
All right, guys. The phone number is 888-659-3727. Joe is going to call right back. That means I have to actually log in to another computer, which he always forgets about, and then he just calls and lets it ring for a while. So let me log into this computer. Hold on, Joe. And see if I can make this happen. Guys, again, the phone number is 888-659-3727. There he is. Let's see if we can make this work. 1 second, guys. Hold on. I'll take your call in a second. My ears are clogged, man. I can't even hear myself. All right, Joe, you are back. Let me hear your sound.
Check, check, check.
All right, good. Let's see who this is. Hey, guys, you're on the air. Or hey, guy, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hello.
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 Hello, this is John from Florida. I've called like 2 other times.
Hey, welcome back, man. How are you? What's up?
Hello?
I can't hear you, man. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely. What's up?
All right. Yeah, I was actually listening and I was curious because the first caller, he was talking about the Gynecomastia.
Right.
I actually had that. Like I called probably like a month or two ago, and I actually had that issue. And safe to say, like it kind of like does like pretty much like what you guys said. It kind of does go down. I kind of like seen it like pretty much disappear. Probably like once in a while, I'll see it, but like for the most part, it's pretty much off. But I'm calling pretty much to ask a question.
Sure. What's the question?
Right, like called. I was like, pretty much like explaining my situation. I had like a procedure. Probably like now I'm probably 18 months out.
All right. So you're the guy who had the procedure by that guy who was on Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Good memory.
That was my issue. And pretty much I've been like researching a lot of doctors, and I've been like pretty much doing my homework on the, trying to find like a surgeon to fix the issue. And
now, if I remember correctly, you said that the hairline was lowered to an unnatural position, and and that you went to see Dr. Rose to get an assessment, and he suggested that you have it lasered off, right?
Yeah, I went to Rose, and I also went
fucking
to
53 years old. Look at that memory. Sorry.
What was that?
I'm almost 53 years old, and I still have that memory. Go ahead.
Yeah. So pretty much, and I also went to Dr. Charles here in Florida, and he also said the same thing. But I just didn't want to stay like in the area. I kind of wanted to look around and see what other doctors said as well. I mean, like, they're both good doctors, and I would have a procedure with them, but I also wanted to like, see like what other options I had. And like pretty much I've been seeing like a lot of like hairline work. Like when I look at results, I kind of look directly at the hairline, and like I don't know if it's just me, but I see like a lot of like I don't know if it's just me, but just like the hairline just seems to like a lot of even the good doctors, like you can notice it. Like like when it comes to like the hairline, you can kind of spot it.
That's
a lot of hair transplants.
I will tell you that it's very rare that if you know what you're looking for and that you're very into it, and you're a hair loss sufferer, that you're not going to be able to spot a transplanted hairline, even the best hairlines. Now, I could spot just about everyone. However, I will tell you look at a guy like Joe. If you see him in person, while, I could see there's a slight exclamation point in some of the frontal hairs. Not a lot, though, compared to a lot of other guys. And I'm talking about really good doctors. I would say that, and I say Specs is the same way, it's possibly because his hair is so thick. It would be very difficult for anyone who is not dealing with what we're dealing with to notice his hairline. And I think even you, if you really look closely, you didn't know Joe did what he did for a living, you would probably think that he had a natural hairline. So it does exist, but for the most part, we're so hyper-focused on every aspect of someone's hairline that we're looking for things that no one else is going to look for. I find it refreshing that someone is noticing this, because you know how it is, Spencer. We've been talking for a while now about the degradation of quality in the industry. And I've had so many conversations and debates with people online, YouTube comment section, different forums, where some people are like, you're just being too picky. And it's like, no, it's like the industry's gone to shit. 10 years ago, everyone was picky. And so for the caller to say this, I think it's refreshing. And I
I'm glad to hear it. I mean, what Spencer said is spot on. I mean, there is very natural work out there, but depending on where you're looking at, you'll see a lot of results from a lot of clinics, especially the newer ones, that the naturalness
it's gone.
Isn't there.
It's out the window, dude. It is out the window. If they're using a turnkey device, especially, and they're using technicians. Listen, I want to make it clear. There's a lot of technicians who are really good at what they do, but they were kind of forced into the FUE game as far as becoming, people who actually performed excisions and extractions, as opposed to what their original role was.
Yeah.
And with that said, there are some people. There's a handful of guys out there and ladies who really know how to extract well. But in most cases, they're not refining these grafts under magnification or under under microscopes.
Yeah.
So they're taking out 2 hairs and they're putting it into a hole. They're taking out 3 hair grafts and they're putting it into a hole. And even if they're separating some of these grafts, or they think they're separating them, if they're not examining the grafts under a heavy magnification, there is going to be catagen hair that's going to be in the tissue that will eventually grow into a terminal hair.
Yeah.
And if I've seen, and Joe's actually put this out on video, Petri dishes, where you can clearly see, if you know what you're looking for, in the one section of the quarter of the Petri dish, you can see 2 hair grafts.
And 3s.
It's insane.
And I actually took that photo of that Petri dish from a well-known European clinic, or European?
Yeah.
I won't say exactly where, but yeah, from a well-known, well-talked-about, non-IAHRS member doctor.
Yeah.
where that was something they were bragging about. They were saying, look, this is our process. We delicately separate the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. I'm looking at the singles. I'm like, well, when?
Right.
What are you going to separate them? Because the dish of singles clearly have a bunch of doubles.
Well, because the dish that says 1 has all 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
So, but so you're absolutely right. It is a lot when you're looking at hairlines today. In my opinion, and in Joe's opinion, it's a lot more noticeable. You can see it, and I would say that probably even people who aren't as focused on hair transplantation might be able to see some of the guys or the newer clinics that are just jumping into the field, see their hairlines. But it's a lot more difficult to see the guys who are really good. But with that said, if you're hyper-focused, it doesn't matter who you go to, the best hair transplant in the world, if you look close enough and you know what you're looking for, you're going to see it's a hair transplant.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is.
No, yeah, that is pretty spot on. Like I guess it's just like the way that the hair exits the scalp. It kind of it's just something there.
You have to understand that you're moving full, thick terminal hairs from the back of your scalp to an area, especially the hairline, that naturally produces finer, less, finer hairs. I was going to say less thick. That's what finer means. But naturally produces finer hairs than what you find in your donor area. So even if they refine the hair down to a 1 hair graft, a lot of it has to do with angulation. If you angle it correctly, then it can give the illusion, especially when there's this kind of a shingling effect, that there's no difference or deviance, from your natural hairline. But it's just an illusion. It's all about creating that illusion.
And one thing that you need to be acutely aware of is, you've had a procedure where you need to have correction done. You need to have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about your hairline's too low. You need to have it raised up somehow. The last thing that you need to be looking at are non-repair hairlines, and looking at those hairlines as a gauge for what you want to achieve, because it's not going to happen. You are starting from a deficit. As far as you've already had a surgery, so the doctor you choose has to not only create a new hairline, they have to deal with the hairline that you've already had placed, right? So it's going to be more difficult to get, and I'm not saying this, let me rephrase, it's going to be a different path for you to get the result that you want. So you shouldn't be looking at non-repair patient type of results. You need to focus on, in my opinion, clinics that do work with repair patients and have expressed this online with a lot of results. You need to look at where they were before, look where they are now, and then gauge if it's a clinic that you want to consider. Don't look at clinics that parade all these virgin scalp results saying, look how great we are, because if you're a good clinic, that's easy. Virgin scalp results are easy if you know what you're doing. But repair cases, those are the ones that you need to be looking at, and those are the ones where you can really separate the men from the boys, as it were.
No, yeah, that's pretty legit. Like I've been like pretty much narrowing it down to like doctors that I feel that, you know, just like me visually, like think have a natural hairline. I kind of had a question for you guys because I kind of want to see what you guys thought about it. But I had a question about Dr. Rahal out of Toronto. I kind of like, I don't know why, but like it seems to me that he has like his hairline is just very like, I don't know, it just seems very natural. Like, you know, not all of them, but most of them for the most part just seem very just natural looking. When I was looking at like I guess his clinic and stuff, I saw that he wasn't on the like your page, like the IHRS page.
Well, I can tell you why he's not on the IHRS page, and actually he should be put back on the IHRS page because there was a time when there was an issue with, and Joe could actually, I should put the camera on me. There was an issue with, I don't even know if I can speak about this publicly, but I think I can, with the Canadian, essentially the Canadian Medical Board. And it's called, what is it called again? The
Health Canada.
Health Canada, yeah. Essentially, there was.
Oh no, sorry. It's
the Royal College.
This is provincial, so it would be the Ontario College of Physicians.
Right. There's an issue with Canadian physicians promoting themselves as being separate and apart or better than any of their colleagues, and the whole nature of our organization is that these are a select group of doctors who have been accepted into the organization. So because he was being scrutinized, and some other Canadian doctors are being scrutinized by the Royal College of Medicine or the Ontario College of Medicine, he asked to step down for a while. But I think that was all cleared up. But no, he's been consistently doing really good work for a long time. Now, there have been some issues, I think, when he switched over to FUE, which I think have been resolved. But if you go to the site now, you will see his listing.
Oh, okay. So in terms of like results, there was nothing like, I guess, because like that's what I figured. Like I thought that maybe like
no, he was not. He was definitely not kicked out of the organization. We did not receive a significant number of complaints. Any issues that did arise were taken care of, and you know, at this point, he's a member in good standing. So I don't see that changing.
Okay. No, yeah, just wanted to like I guess see that. I actually talked to him. On the phone and stuff, I kind of addressed my situation, and he was saying because like I'm in like this debate of whether like on like where the hairline was placed, I'm like debating whether to FUE it out and use those grafts since you have like, you know, like the grafts are limited, like the ones that are permanent, or basically like lasering them out. So he suggested like FUEing them out. Just like in terms of like what you guys see, do you think FUEing the grafts out can cause any like visible, because you know it's bad enough that I'm already hyper focused on the hairline, like bad enough that you get a hair transplant, you FUE those grafts out, and then you have like scarring there, and people are going to be looking.
It depends on your physiology and your skin characteristics and how you scar, and you know there's if you have darker skin. And you decide to have FUE, or you decide to have them cored out, which is what they do. Even if they, some guys will actually put a little stitch into that cord area. Some guys will, depending on the size of the punch, will just let it heal. I have seen guys who range anywhere from having tiny little slit scars to actually having punctate wounds to having actually no visible scarring. So it really depends on your physiology and how the procedure is performed. You've seen a lot of these, Joe.
I have seen a lot of them, and in my opinion, based on everything I've seen, I think that brow lifts are the best for removing hairlines, And what a brow lift is where a strip is taken from your forehead. It takes out the hairline. And yes, you are left with a strip scar. Every time I've seen this, it has been the thinnest strip scar you've ever seen. It never heals I've never seen it heal like it does in the back. It's always better. And you go back in 4 months later and you can have a proper hairline reconstructed from scratch. That gives you the absolute best chance for a second chance. And the grafts that are taken out with that brow lift can be dissected under microscope, so they're safe. They're not damaged from the FUE process. They're dissected under microscopes, and they can be redistributed wherever you want them to be.
You froze again.
It's an extremely effective procedure, but a lot of people don't opt for that because it sounds scary as shit.
So there's also a lot more downtime. You're essentially taking out a peninsula of scalp in the front of your hairline, and then you're raising your brow, or in some cases you're actually lowering the hairline behind it, depending on your situation. And then there is in most cases, it's a very thin hairline scar, no pun intended, in the hairline that is then camouflaged with grafts in front of it. I think it's basically because this area of your scalp has a lot more elasticity, the front and the forehead, and there's a lot more movement going on just every day. So it seems like that area closes up pretty tight in most cases. Yeah. I think you need to get a lot of different opinions. I mean, you don't want to waste those grafts, but there are, depending on how many grafts you need to be removed, there is something to be said about potentially saying, okay, if I lose 100 grafts, 150 grafts, it's not the end of the world. You might be able to get it lasered to the point where you don't see any type of scarring, have it raised slightly, and then work around that. We would have to see your images. And I think that any physician worth their salt would give you a couple of different options as to what they think they can do for you. I will tell you that the fact that Paul Rose suggested just lasering, I know that he's capable of doing scalp, not scalp reductions, brow lifts and that that type of corrective surgery. I mean, how many grafts did he say that you would have to have lasered off?
He didn't really say, he didn't go too into it. The doctor actually went a little more into it was Glenn Charles, because I was seeing him a lot more.
And what did he say?
He said that it was more worth doing the lasering just because of that, pretty much what I fear, which is the visible scarring in the hairline. He said it would be like 100 hairs around there, between the 50 to 100 hairs at most. So he said that it wouldn't be too many grafts, and he said that there'll be a lower rate of those grafts growing because they're being taken out again, for the second time. So he kind of said the smarter move would be to laser them off, but it was just a little hesitant just because of the fact that I'm young, so I know I'm probably gonna need a lot of hair eventually.
Yeah, but the truth is in this particular circumstance, and again, I'm not a physician. If it's only about 100 hairs that have to be removed, then you may be in a better position in the end if you have that done than if you actually go through any type of a procedure, a surgical procedure, to either core those grafts or to have I have to tell you, even though I've seen some great results. It is a pretty significant procedure to actually have a brow lift, have that tissue removed, and then place grafts in front of it. Now, Joe, I know it was routine in your arena, but still, for this particular case, it seems like it may be extreme.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize it was so few grafts. So, are they in the center of the hairline, in the corner, or are they just spread around in different areas?
Well, because from my original hairline, he brought it down a finger's length. So basically, if you were to put a finger, basically on my hairline where it is now, it would be all those hairs, mostly in the center, because the hairline he drew, which I kind of have a problem with his procedure, because I feel like he gives the same hairline to everybody. Not no knock on him, but I just feel like a lot of the hairlines are created the same, and it kind of has like this like downwards, like to the center. It's kind of
almost like a widow's peak.
Yeah, exactly. Like almost to that degree, where there's like more hair in the center, and then like he did put in the like on the sides, but it's probably more in the center area where I would need to be lasering them off.
Well, in that case, I mean, it depends on how the grafts are exiting the scalp. If you still have those, if you do have punctate wounds or dimples where the hair is exiting, it might be a good idea to have those FU'd out because you're taking the scar tissue with it. Because anytime you place a graft, it's going to create a small amount of scar tissue. So if the graft was placed and there's enough scar tissue to where it looks like a dimple or some sort of punctate wound, FUE might be better because if you laser it out, then you'll still have that little hole that remains or the dimple where the graft was placed. If that's not the issue, then laser might be fine. But at this point with so few grafts, it could be honestly, I think six to one, half dozen to another.
Okay, so in terms of like, I guess it'll just be my choice. Like, you think that like either one of them will be safe?
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you taken the opportunity to see what it looks like by cutting them down or shaving them down, just to kind of get an idea of what the skin looks like?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm doing right now. Like all those hairs that I think look natural, like I'm pretty much like shaving them down every 2 days or so.
All right, and how does it look when it's shaved to the bone?
It looks like, because like the way I comb my hair, I kind of like comb it to like the side where like I kind of cover it up. But if I were like to pull my hair like I guess like comb it like back, I think it would be pretty. Someone that looks close to me would probably be like, "Dude, what is that?" Or like.
Well, okay, but you're probably going to see the hair shafts. You're probably going to see like little hair growing out. But say, make believe there's no hair there. What does the skin look like?
I mean, it looks pretty normal. Like it doesn't have any like redness. It doesn't have any like you said, like.
So you have no defects. You have no dimpling. You have no cobblestoning, and all you basically see is when you shave that area of your scalp, all you're seeing are the little hair follicles, the dots of hair.
Correct.
Okay. Exactly. Well, then based on that description, I would say that a laser, especially if it's so few hairs, would be a good consideration.
Okay.
Because the problem is once you go in again with a knife or where you're going with a punch, you're creating a new wound. And if it doesn't look like you've been wounded, and when you shave down to the bone and all you see is a little stubble, then you're in a pretty good position. I
agree with that.
So what you should do is let the hair grow a little longer and pluck it in a few places and see what that skin looks like. Don't shave it, but actually pluck it fully out and see how the skin looks. If the skin is clean, then lasering will probably be your best option.
Okay. So in terms of like when it grows out, I just like if I basically just take it out, it'll probably be like the same process. Like
let a few hairs grow out to maybe for a month. So it's going to be about a quarter of a centimeter, right? How long is that going to be? Not even a quarter of an inch.
No.
And just take a tweezer and pull. It's going to hurt.
Okay.
It's not going to feel good. But
man up.
Yeah, man up. You're going to cry a little bit. You will get tears, actually.
Get a tissue.
Yeah. It's no worse than pulling your nostril hairs if you've ever done that. And that is fucked up. But
yes, it is.
Yeah, but you'll get an idea of what that skin looks like without that hair follicle. And if it looks clean, then you're good to go.
Oh.
Yeah. And if it looks clean, once you pluck those hairs, then you're good to go for laser hair removal.
Yep.
Okay. No, yeah, I just wanted your opinion on that. I might have one more question
Sure.
Before you do, roll up your window. There's a lot of wind noise.
Oh no, it's raining crazy. Like I live in Florida, so it's like pouring pretty bad right now.
Okay, fair enough. That's cool.
Yeah, but I'll make this quick. So pretty much, I've gotten like I said, like a lot of opinions from different doctors. And like, it seems to me like the graft count, like I know at the end of the day, it's all about money and stuff, but it seems like the graft count that I get estimated seems to like vary like a lot. Like it seems so like when I send my pictures and like I get like, you know, opinions from like, I don't know if it's really the doctor that's looking at them or if it's just a consultant, but like they're giving me just different graft counts and like they vary from like 1,200 to like basically 2,500. So, you know,
I'm going to be honest with you that the likelihood of the physician looking at your online consultation is pretty low.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Joe, I don't know if you agree with that.
It depends on the quality of the photos, obviously. I think that it also depends on the doctor because different doctors are going to have different estimates based on.
No, but I always say what I said was, and you didn't hear that obviously because you're breaking up. But what I said was, it's probably unlikely that he was getting an estimate from a physician.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you're doing online, well, I mean, some physicians do, but if you're doing it online, at the very least, you're getting.
At least your first contact is going to be with a rep.
With a consultant, yeah. Sometimes, I mean, they might show the photos to the doctor and get a quick assessment. Sometimes you'll get a full assessment that is actually from the doctor and is just being kind of, you know, handed off. But a lot of times it's just a consultant that you're talking to under the name of the doctor. So you need to, especially again in your case, you need to insist on some sort of Skype video call with a doctor if it's someone that's not in your area.
Look, this is something that the doctors are not going to like to hear. And as you know, all of the members of the IHRS pay, you know, dues like in any other organization. But I'm very frank about this. Online consultations in general suck unless you are doing something where you know the doctor's right in front of you. I would say via Skype or FaceTime. He gets a chance to actually look at you. And you could hear him say, this is what he thinks he can do for you at this point until he really doesn't know until he gets a really good chance to look at your donor in person. So it's still a relative estimate. And when you sit in that chair, when you go to that office, even if you sign the dotted line, you may, you know, if the doctor's ethical, you may come back with a number that you're unhappy with once he actually gets a chance to see you. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of, you know, filling out online consultation forms, uploading pictures. I know Joe may disagree with this. I don't know if you do. But
well, I only if it's done in a very comprehensive way. I mean, I think that online consultations. Look, I've talked till I was blue in the face with people saying these photos suck. Send us new photos, and I've told people. I mean. We can't even talk to you if you can't send us good photos. Video, you know, I think that helps. It all comes down to the quality. But if it's an ethical clinic, they're adamant about the fact that this estimate may change once you arrive in the clinic. Right. This is just based on, you know, you got to be clear about that stuff. This is based on your photos, and we can only give you an assessment that's as good as the photos you send us or as good as the video that you send us. So follow these instructions. If you can't follow these instructions, don't waste our time. And I think, look, I understand the case of you know, not trusting online consultations, and in most situations it's warranted. But if there is a sincere effort to make sure that the information is as valid as it can possibly be, and then the caveats are thrown in about how this is online, you're not here in our office, so you need to understand that, then I think it's okay.
Correct. No, yeah. I mean, I've kind of been getting that vibe where, like, I guess, you know, it just depends. If you don't talk to doctors, because I have talked to doctors on, like, Skype calls, stuff like that, or just, like, through the phone. And, like, they have their... and
they have their what? Say that again?
So they have, like the photos in front of them. So, you know, they're looking at it. So I kind of, like, you know, I'm pretty much going by the judgment. But, like, considering my age and just, like, the fact that, like you guys said, it's a repair procedure, like, at what time do you guys think it would be best? Because, like, I'm not in no rush to really do it. Because, like right now, like, I have enough hair to really disguise it.
Well, like, if you have enough hair to disguise it right now, and you can hold off, then that is a luxury that a lot of guys don't have.
Absolutely.
So take your fucking time, dude. Do your research. Get on a plane or get in your car and travel to the doctors that you're considering and have, an actual face-to-face consultation. You have the time to do it because you're not in a rush.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Like,
and I think I heard you say you're shaving these hairs now. Is that right?
Yeah. Like, I'm shaving them almost, like, the ones that I don't think look natural. But the thing was that, like, even when I shave those hairs, like just like I said, if I were to pull my hair back, you would see the unnatural hairline regardless, because you would see like 2 and 3 hair grafts behind that. Okay. You know what I mean? Like,
now, what does your doctor who performed the surgery say?
I guess I'm not on great terms with him because, like, I pretty much went in there at 12 or 13 months, and, like, they wanted to do a second procedure. He was pretty much going to do it on him. I talked to, like, the owner of the company, and he was saying, like I had a long conversation with him, and he basically agreed with me. He was saying, the doctor wasn't that experienced at the time. Like, he'll use smaller grafts this time. He was just trying to get me back.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Back up. The owner of the company?
Yeah, like the guy, like, because I was trying to get a refund. I'm like, I don't want to go too deep into it because I'm not allowed to disclose too much information. But
no, that's fine. But sorry, maybe I'm confused. Didn't you go to the guy that was on Dr. Oz?
Yeah.
And it's not the same person that owns the clinic?
No. It's another dude. And to make it even sketchier, the dude that's in the dude that's the owner, he had a procedure done by him, and he was telling me, like, he was basically telling me, look, I went to a lot of different clinics, this and that, but I wanted to go with this doctor because I thought he was the most honest.
So let me ask you a question. So you sure this guy owns the clinic or he is working for the clinic?
So basically, when I asked for, like, a refund, I talked to the doctor directly. And when I talked to the doctor directly, he was like, okay, well, I'm going to get you the owner of the company to talk to you and to disclose, to talk things over and to say, to basically work something out. So that's when I talked to the owner. And then I realized, like, when I was doing research, I realized that the same owner is a guy that had a procedure with him. So I'm there saying, of course he's going to tell me to get back in the chair. Of course he's going to tell me all this.
Well, here's the thing. And I think this is a very important point. Is my sound down? No, my sound is okay.
Sounds good.
For anyone who's listening right now, I think it's really important that if you're going to have a hair transplant and you're choosing a doctor based on his experience and his notoriety, it's probably best if it's the doctor's clinic, in my view. There are clinics that are owned by physicians who then hire other physicians. And in some cases, that's perfectly fine.
That's what I feel happened.
Because
the guy had the procedure before. Like I looked at the timeline, and it seemed like he had a procedure, and then probably they had, like, a conversation on what he did for a living and stuff like that, and then probably that's when it kicked off, and maybe that's when that happened. So
that's all hearsay. We really have no idea. But in general, a lot of guys who get into the field who just decide to open up clinics because they're either around the field or they've had surgeries themselves, and they have the wherewithal or the means to open up a clinic, finance it, and hire a doctor. Then the bottom line becomes even more the bottom line. So the doctor's not only working to make a living, he has to make sure that he meets the expectations of the investor.
It's quota.
And the owner. So the owner. So there then becomes a quota.
Correct. I mean, it just seems like this whole hair transplant industry seems like, I hate to say it, but it kind of seems like a black market. It kind of seems like something where you kind of have to watch your stuff because, like, you can get fucked. I mean,
I will tell you that I used to think it was just the hair transplant industry, but it's actually the entire cosmetic surgery field.
Yeah.
No, yeah, correct. No,
it's a fucking mess. You see these women walking around with, I call it filler fatigue. And essentially, they're so blown up that, every time you create a pocket with those fillers, every time you re-inject, you create a bigger pocket. So then that pocket of tissue needs more filler in order to remain firm. And then gravity takes hold. So essentially, these poor young women are aging themselves rapidly, and these doctors are willing to do it to them just to make a few bucks because they know in the end they're going to need a fucking facelift, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the same holds true in hair. It's very difficult to find a really good hair transplant surgeon. And even when you find a good one, shit happens.
Law of averages.
Yeah. All right, man. Listen, we got some guys who are holding on. We have a guy in the chat room who wants to tell a story. I see that I think he's been holding on for a while. If that's the guy, so we're gonna take another call. But listen, let us know what you do, what you decide to do. I think it's great that you're able to kind of live your life right now.
Yeah.
While things weren't perfect, at least you have the ability to step back, really do your research, and you don't feel like you've been totally destroyed. You can kind of live your life right now pretty comfortably.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you very much for answering like the question I had. I'll keep you guys updated to see what I do.
Do not jump into anything, dude.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for calling.
888-659-3727. It's really weird. It must be my headset or my ears are clogged. I'm not hearing myself clearly, but my levels look good. So
you sound good on this end.
All right. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, Spencer. This is Julian. I'm from Philadelphia. I called about a month ago about my procedure with Dr. McGrath.
Are you the guy in the chat? Are you the guy in the chat room, Julian?
Jay Spearin 49.
Yep.
All right. Welcome, man. Welcome back.
Sitting in a hotel room, and I have a procedure with Cooley scheduled for literally tomorrow morning.
Holy wow. Are you nervous?
So, yeah, I'm nervous.
Oh, you should be.
Which
hotel?
Which hotel were you in?
Very natural.
What's that?
Which hotel were you in?
Oh, it's not a good one. I don't even want to say. It was just like it had decent reviews, but it's really cheap. So it's not a good hotel.
It's not the one that they set you up with, or
no, they didn't set me up with anything. They just said, there's these two hotels we recommend, and that was it. But they didn't tell me I had to go to.
Okay, all right. Well, if it's I was going to say if it's the one that I stayed at, there's a killer Mexican restaurant down the street. You should try it out.
What's the name? Maybe I'll try it anyway. But
when you leave the hotel, when you drive out, you pass right by. I can't remember the name of it, but it's on the way out towards the main road. It's really good. I just can't remember the name of it. Anyway, but no, you're in the hotel room. You're freaking out. You got a surgery tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've been there, and I get it. And the great thing about this is that you're going to be taken well care of tomorrow. The team at the clinic is you saw the videos, I assume. They're fantastic.
Yes, I've watched countless. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with my story. I've called twice before about my procedure with Dr. McGrath.
Yeah, you're waiting for something to happen before you. Yeah, okay, you got it. Okay, I didn't want to start talking about the details, but yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
He did send it. He stuck to his word. It was kind of weird how it ended. He said he wanted to talk to me, but then we never ended up talking. I called him back, but then he never called me back after that. So I don't know what happened, but I got the refund. So yeah, I was like, okay, let me book something with Kobren now.
But that is odd, and that actually disturbs me. I mean, do you want to talk to him?
Not particularly. I mean, I don't know what he's going to say to me.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to change what happened.
No, it's not.
It's not going to change it. I'm here. I, honest to God, wish I'd just shaved my head and I hadn't done any of this. And the only reason I'm going through, I honestly don't want to get another hair transplant. The only reason I'm going through with this is because I think it looks so bad. And I'm actually more insecure now about my hair than I was when I had even less hair, because I think the hairline is so bad. And I mean, it's not horrible. I know there's way worse, Joe. I know you and Spencer both have seen absolutely horrible hairlines. I mean, I have single hair grafts put in the front and then multi-hair grafts behind that, but it's just so thin. And I also did not expect the hairs to feel so different. I mean, even 17 months after, they feel wiry compared to my normal hair.
Yeah.
It's just not what I expected. And then also the scar in the back of my head, I can't go as short as I want. And that's something I wanted to talk to you guys about. So I met Cooley in person. I consulted.
Well, before you move on, now that you got your refund, you had suggested that I wait before I pick up the phone and contact McGrath myself. At this stage, how do you feel about me doing that?
I think that's totally up to you. If you would like to, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Well, I would have to know your name, and I would have to know. And you don't have to say it on the radio, and I would have to kind of know some of the particulars of the case besides what you shared with us here. Okay. But this way, I can actually contact him and ask him, listen, what's up, and why was it dealt with this way? And I take what we do very seriously. I think I told you that before, and it just bugs me. Listen, there's not an IHRS member who doesn't have an unhappy patient, but a lot of what you expressed is a little bit concerning to me. Yeah. So I'd like to have the ability to speak with him.
Sure. Joe has my email, so if Joe wants to send you my email, I'm happy to email with you or have a private phone call.
Well, all I need is your name and whatever. Did you send Joe all the information that you think that I would need?
I don't know if he has my full name, if that's what you're looking for. So I could definitely send Joe that after this phone call.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I do have it. Yeah, I got your email address. I got your first, last name, and photos. So do I have permission to forward this on to Spencer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right, we'll do. In fact.
Okay, so sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to kind of get that out there because
No, it's totally cool.
Based on what I've read and based on your experience and the fact that you're just saying you wish you never had a hair transplant, and also the way things ended with Dr. McGrath, all of these things kind of raise a red flag in my mind. I have to be able to sleep at night, and it's great that Dr. McGrath supports our message. It's great that he has had consistently good results for a long time. But there have been some similar issues relatively recently, and I just kind of want to know what's going on. So I think you and I spoke about this, and you asked me to hold off. So now that I have your permission, I can talk to him, and I will.
Yeah, and I appreciate you holding off. I really respect that.
Well, listen, I want to make sure that you got what you needed.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
So do you have any other questions about McGrath or any of my feelings about that, or should I jump into the Cooley?
You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you want to talk about your feelings about it, that's fine. I mean, that's what the show's about. And if you just want to talk, if you have questions about your surgery tomorrow, whatever you think is more important right now.
Okay, so the thing I didn't expect from the surgery was first of all, I was kind of talked into, I wanted to do FUE originally because I said I cut my hair kind of short. But I was continually told that if I wanted a lot of hair, I would have to do FUT.
Right.
So that's what I went with. And now I'm at 17 months or something, and the scar in the back of my head still kind of hurts sometimes. And it's a lot wider than I wanted. On the one side, it's about 5 millimeters at a certain point, at a couple points. You'll see in my pictures, I even put a ruler next to it. And so I can't cut my hair that short. And I really want to cut my hair short. My hair needs to be cut somewhat short because, unfortunately, the properties of my hair, it's not straight like yours or Joe's. It gets into this almost weird Jufro type thing. It's horrible. Yeah. So I need to keep it short for it to look clean. And I didn't. So that's my big thing, and that leads me into.
So is this something that you? God, I can't even hear out of this headphone. Is this something that you actually spoke to when you were having your consultation? Did you actually speak to that? Did you tell him exactly why you wanted to have FUE and what your thoughts were as far as being able to keep your hair short and also your limitations with the type of hair you have?
I spoke to Steve Cook about it. I didn't really.
I'm gonna put the camera over to Joe. I think there's something wrong with my mic. I want to check it out, but I'll be able to hear you. So go ahead.
Okay. I had most of my discussions with Steve Cook. I didn't really talk to McGrath much. I think I talked to him on the phone briefly, but that was it. I didn't really even have a consult with him. I just talked to Steve Cook so much that I trusted him so much that I ended up just going with it. And then I just met Dr. McGrath the day of the procedure. And it was already assumed I was getting FUT based on my conversations with Steve.
And you were given what kind of estimate before you even got to the clinic as far as the graft number, the graft assessment?
I wasn't given one.
You weren't given. Oh, I'm sorry. Did they talk about the number of hairs or number of grafts?
I think they said
like when you had your surgery, did they give you a graft count at the end of the day or a hair count?
No, they don't do that. They just do a strip and they tell you the length of your strip.
That's it.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
The square centimeters.
And okay, were you ever told roughly how much hair you had transplanted?
They don't know the exact number. I don't think they count it anywhere. They just tell me the strip length and, the length and the width. And then from there you can get the centimeter squared, and then you can calculate it based on, they said I have slightly higher than average density.
Okay.
So that's like maybe around 200 hairs per square centimeter. Or I think, 200 hairs.
All right. Now, I am not 100% sure. Joe's does it sound the same or sound a little louder?
Sounds the same. Okay.
But it's it loud enough?
Yeah.
Because my
it's
level's
loud enough.
just
I hear
really
you fine.
weird. Okay.
Yeah. No, Spencer, you sound good.
All right. Thanks, man. I can tell you that something has changed because that is not the way things used to be in that practice. Now, I don't know if it was based on bringing on this guy, Steve. And I'm just being very forthright about this. McGrath may hear this program, and he's not going to like the fact that I'm speaking about this. But I would say that I am a little bit, a little concerned that you didn't have a chance to see the physician before your surgery. So I'm glad you're telling me that. I mean, Joe, what are your thoughts, man?
Thought we met,
my concern is after the fact. He's not spoken to him. If I got this right, he's not spoken to you once since. It's all been Steve Cook, right?
No. I've spoken to McGrath a couple times. No,
okay.
I have. We've had a couple phone calls. He's been very good with speaking to me and with the refund. It was just after he sent the refund and after I told him I did not want the free transplant. That's when things broke down.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay. I misunderstood. Well, to answer the question that Spencer had, how do I feel about it? I think that I think that if you, like in today's age, especially today, that if you're going to go have a hair transplant, you owe it to yourself to insist on speaking to the doctor at least once to hear from him personally what he feels about your case coming in. I think that especially today, if you are expressing to a doctor that you feel like FUE is the course for you, I mean, you're not a bald guy. You just had some recession. If you feel like FUE is the way for you because of very specific parameters that you want to be met, for a doctor to tell you or for the consultant to tell you, oh, it's not as good, it's not going to work for you as well as a strip will, in my view, I think that you need to consider what they're saying, look at the results that they're getting, fuck everything they tell you. I mean, when you're coming into a clinic, the problem
I think what happened was that I trusted him too much, and I asked him a lot of questions, and then I just kind of went with what he told me.
And I get that. I get that.
Not a good idea.
But I think this isn't a hindsight for you. This is for other people listening to this. You've already you've started your path.
Yeah.
But when people are talking to a clinic, and in 2018, and they're being told that FUE isn't going to give you the same result as a strip, I think that you need to disregard everything that brought you to that clinic to begin with and ask yourself the hard question: why are they telling me this? What is their track record with both procedures? If they can produce great results with both procedures, then some sort of argument they have against FUE for your case might be valid. But if they don't perform FUE, then there's a huge bias on why they're not able to, on why they're telling you FUE is not the procedure for you. And that is because it's just not any good in their hands. That's why. Yeah. So it's
either not good in their hands, or they just don't have enough experience. It's too much of a pain in the ass for them.
Yeah.
So they really try to focus on strip, which is, look, I think it's important that there are some really good strip guys out there, or guys who have the infrastructure to do strip surgery. But unfortunately for you, that was not the case. And also, you were very specific in what you needed and what you wanted and what you expected. I do think that it was.
I do admit, I don't think I was specific enough with how short I wanted to go on the sides, and I didn't realize how short I used to go and how much it mattered until after the procedure, and I was having to go longer.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fair. I'm glad you told us that.
I admit, that I was not aware how much I'd like to have gone shorter. I mean, I was originally going towards FUE because I was just like, why do I want a strip in the back of my head? Why do I want downtime from the gym? Because I like to go to the gym a lot. But it was just after so many conversations with Steve. I mean, he will spend a lot of time talking to you. That was the big thing I noticed from him versus any other clinic I spoke to. Any other clinic, I'd have a consult, that was it, done. With Steve, I could text him, I could call him, he'll text me pictures. It was like a buddy thing.
Well, here's the thing, and I will tell you that
done, we barely talked.
I will tell you that that's a very common issue that I have actually. I don't love, and there are some very good consultants who work with very good doctors who do become very buddy with you. I think that's extremely unprofessional, and I think that in general, it is a very typical sales tactic in this field.
Yes, it felt like car salesman of hair transplants.
Your consultant and your physician, they're not your friend. They are there to educate you and to help maybe hold your hand through the process, but that is it. Joe, you've been doing this for a long time. You know what I mean, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I've always been turned off by that.
Well, I've made friends with patients through the years, but I had there haven't I've been to dinner with some of them.
I can't.
I've had drinks with them.
I got to turn off your camera now.
What's that? Is it locked again?
No. I was just saying I can't work with you now.
But there is a line. I mean, I don't believe. I'll put it like this. I think that some consultants will go out of their way to initiate that kind of relationship and talk about the procedure as little as possible to avoid having to talk about the procedure. Because if they're taking the mind of the patient off of the procedure, then it becomes an assumed, like an assumed sale almost.
Well, I don't mind if someone becomes friends after the fact with the patient, and the patient's happy, and they're like, "Oh, I had a really good experience with this consultant, and he's in my hometown. He's had surgery too. Whatever." That makes sense to me. But it's the whole buddy thing until the patient is unhappy.
Well, I think another thing that indicates is if you've got a consultant that has the time to be there anytime you text, anytime you call, anytime you email, and to have these conversations, how busy are they? I mean, how much time in a day does someone have to be that way with all their patients? It doesn't make sense to me, and it's just a red flag. I mean, there are red flags with that kind of behavior across the board, and it goes back to what I was talking about before with the strip and FUE, or strip versus FUE. I was the exact same way 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, where I would put down FUE as far as not being as viable as strip work, where the results weren't there. My favorite tagline back then was someone say, "Well, what about FUE versus strip?" I'd say, "Well, where are the results?" Well, it got to the point where I couldn't say that anymore. I pulled my head out of the sand and embraced it. It's like it's inevitable. You have to. So for someone to be saying today or recently that strip is so superior that FUE just doesn't produce the results, they too have their head buried in the sand, or they have a financial motive to say that.
You're frozen again, by the way.
Well, at least it's a better picture this time.
It is. It's a good shot. All right, so we kind of got that out of the way. You have surgery scheduled tomorrow. This is to repair what you went through. What does Dr. Cooley say he can do for you?
So I saw him in person, and what he said he could do is he would cut out the old scar, repair it, and transplant 1,500 grafts to fix the frontal hairline, to improve the density, and also remove a couple misplaced grafts. That's his plan, but I wanted to ask you guys because I don't know if I want to go through another FUT. And I was wondering, is it ever a good idea to just say, like, could I ask him, can we go with FUE and you can put some grafts from the FUE into the scar to help cover it? And then I don't have to go through the whole, cutting open the back of my head and then waiting a month and a half before I can go to the gym and the stitches.
I'm going to let Joe answer this question, but I certainly have my opinion. And, real quick, utilizing your precious donor to fill in a linear scar is not always the best idea, especially if that scar is so wide that it makes you uncomfortable. If the doctor really is technically skilled at producing another scar, and it's more than just scar revision because they're actually going to be removing tissue with about 1,500 grafts and then closing up the donor. That's usually probably the best line of attack because you're unhappy with the current scar. Joe, I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I agree with that. And I think that, look, I think that one thing you need to understand is Dr. Cooley is exceptionally good at what he does, especially when it comes to wound management with closing the donor area. He does it. The first time I watched him do a strip surgery, it blew my fucking mind because Brandy's going to be there with him, and it's almost like one mind controlling two sets of hands. It was like a symphony. It was a beautiful thing to observe. And that was before we even started working together. This is like, I think it was a few months before, but very good at what he does. He's had the benefit of seeing you in person, and I know that he takes cases like yours extremely seriously, very seriously, because of what's on the table. And that is, you're going to have another strip surgery. You've already had one that didn't turn out so great. And he wants to do the best job for you. He's a hair transplant patient himself. He knows what it's like to go through this, and I respect that about him. I think I agree with Spencer that you don't want to waste your donor hair to fill in a donor scar, at least this time around. Okay. And what I mean by this is you had one experience with strip. Now have a good experience with strip, if that makes sense. And try to reduce the size of this donor scar because, and I need to preface this by saying that there are no guarantees with this second surgery. Okay. I think you understand that. You're a smart guy, but it bears repeating. There are no guarantees with any surgery that you're going to have. And being in the position you're in now, I think that this is the opportunity to reduce the scar considerably. If it doesn't work, being on the other side of this, if it doesn't work, then you know that there is potentially a physiological element with your healing. Okay. And then you can start investigating the donor hair into, or the FUE into the donor scar. Okay. But I think you owe it to yourself to try to remove the existing donor scar by someone that's done this many times and has a lot of experience with this to give you the best result possible. And then on top of that, even if it turns out to be a great result as far as like the width of the donor scar from Dr. Cooley, you can still go in and maybe put beard hair in it as well to camouflage it even further. But never, I can't stress this enough, never look at your downtime as, being out of the gym for a month as being something to turn you off from a procedure that can give you a lifetime fucking better result. I don't understand. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I think you need to look at the long term, not the short term, and don't let a month out of the gym deter you from doing what could be the best decision you make for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I understand. I think the main reason I'm thinking about that is partially because of my girlfriend, because so I've been with her for almost 2 years now, and she's like been with me through this whole thing. She was with me before I had the hair transplant and after, and she sees how it's affected me.
Yeah.
And she's like, just shave your head. Just shave your head. Just shave your head. I'm tired of hearing about this. Just shave your head.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, oh, maybe if I can just, fill in the back and then maybe get a decent result with FUE, and then maybe I can cut it down really short. And then in the future, if anything, say finasteride stops working or something and I lose more of my hair, I could get SMP into the scar too and then just shave my head eventually.
And if this happens, then you can do that. And if that happens, you can do this. And Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid. I think that shaving your head at this point is premature. I think that if you were to do something like that, you would have two options or two issues, the exact same issues that I had when I considered shaving my head before I ever got my repair work, and that was the graft work. You shave it down. Once it starts growing, even after a day of stubble, it looks like dog shit. The second issue is you got a big donor scar in the back that screams to the world he's had a hair transplant and he shaved his head afterwards. You don't want that. You're too young to go through that.
I know.
I mean,
I know. That's what I tell her.
Yeah.
I don't think she understands.
Well, of course she doesn't. And, good for her for being supportive initially, but I don't think that it matters if she's, for her to say, I'm tired of hearing about this. Forgive me for saying this, but fuck her. This isn't her head. It's yours. And I think that, I don't know. I think that you should be getting a bit more support on that front. For her to say that she's tired of hearing about it, too bad. It's your head, and you should do, what you need to do, reasonably speaking, to be able to, feel comfortable in your own skin.
Well, look, you've been through some pretty significant trauma. There's no doubt about that, and we're not here to judge your girlfriend, but in a way, I kind of understand if she can't really wrap her head around it, no pun intended, what you're dealing with.
No, I think it's just a frustration with being insecure about it.
Of course,
confidence is everything, right? Confidence is very important.
Right.
And even going through with a transplant in some ways is admitting to the world, saying, look, I'm insecure about this.
Yeah.
And I'm going down this path.
But there's so many things in this world that we're all insecure about.
Does your girlfriend,
it's normal.
Does your girlfriend wear makeup?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Hair extensions?
Sometimes.
Okay. There you go.
Case closed.
Done.
That just, yeah.
How secure is she?
Yeah.
Ask her to live her life without her hair extensions.
She has her own issues.
Yeah, ask her to live her life without her hair extensions, her makeup, and whatever diet she's on, and see how comfortable she is. And that's just the way that and I don't mean to sound harsh. I'm sure she's wonderful in many ways, but you got to take care of yourself now. That's it.
Yeah.
And trying to. Jeez, I can't hear myself. Trying to tailor your surgery around the concerns or feelings of your girlfriend as opposed to really doing what's best for you at this stage is probably not the best route to take.
No, I agree. I was just, I wanted to ask about the option. I thought it was beneficial to explore and ask you guys.
Oh, it is. It's a reasonable.
That was the only thing.
That's a reasonable question.
I wasn't going. I'm never going to make a clear decision because of something. Only because of what she thinks.
Right.
I can think for myself. I have no problem doing that, and I always will make. Ultimately, the decisions for myself will be my own decisions. I just wanted to bring it up and explain kind of the story.
Well, it was actually, listen, it's a reasonable question. We're not saying it's not a reasonable question. So I'm glad that you had the opportunity to ask that question. And I think that Joe gave a good answer. Obviously, I feel the same way. I think that you've already been cut. You already have a stretched or whether it's stretched or whether it's just, like I said, like Joe said, a physiological issue. It's a bigger scar than you expected. It is limiting your ability to style your hair the way in which you want to style your hair. That's fucked up. And your best chance of repairing that situation or somehow mitigating the damage is to have another strip. That's just, I think Dr. Cooley, and again, I'm not a physician, but I think Dr. Cooley gave you a good assessment and the right advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult to go through. It is a procedure. You're having a piece of your scalp removed. You're having your head stitch closed.
Again.
You have the waiting time, the downtime, the ugly duckling stage. Again, it's fucked up, And
especially when I was only a Norwood 3, barely a Norwood 3.
And that's one of the hindsight issues that really kicks you in the nuts, right? I mean, I think about what you're going through, and I remember, when I went through my first repair surgery with Dr. Wong, I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I was driving.
That's how I feel. Damn.
Yeah, it's like what the fuck? It's like I'm doing this shit again, and I had to pull over and call my. Now keep in mind, I've been living with my shit for 9 years, right? So, I had to pull over on a Canadian highway. I'd never been on a Canadian highway before. I had to pull over, and I called my buddy back home, who was responsible for my first 2 surgeries, because he was doing it too. And, that's part of my backstory. And he's like, well, you did your research, and, he seems like he's really good at what he does. So go for it. I'm like, you know what? Fuck, what have I got to lose? And at that time,
exactly.
I had 2 donor scars, not much hair in my head except for the grafts that were placed 9 years before by Dr. Norris. So it's like, what did I have to lose? In your case,
I mean, other than some money, but I mean, I'm sure for you were fine with that. And, you guys are both pretty smart, and, you think of your own things, and I'm the same. I run my own company. So that's not a big concern.
My ultimate decision that I made was obviously the best one. So when I tell you about this, and Spencer, he says it so eloquently. Once you're cut, you're cut, and that's I've never forgotten that line, because it's so true. It's beautiful in its simplicity, and it's right. Once you're cut, you're cut. So it's like, if you're going to do anything, at least look, you've invested the time and money into this already. So you owe it to yourself to do it the right way. And if it's still not the right way, in other words, if the scar doesn't heal the way that we're hoping, that we're expecting based on such an excellent track record, then that there is a physiological component to this that is out of the standard that a doctor would expect, and then you can more accurately move forward, or more accurately plan how to move forward to make it better. And it can get better. It's just, this is the best way to try to make it better before you try the alternatives. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That makes perfect sense. And I appreciate you saying that. That does make me feel better about going through with this tomorrow.
Good.
Well,
good, because
I think
you're in great hands.
Yeah, you're in very good hands, and I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised with not only the experience tomorrow, but with your recovery and how things work out in the end. So, I wish you the best of luck. Call us next week. Let us know how it goes.
Absolutely.
Okay. I definitely will. I appreciate everything you guys have said. One last really, really quick question.
Sure.
Really quick. Do transplanted grafts ever feel like normal hairs?
Great question. They do, if they're not damaged during the procedure.
Right.
Okay.
There are caveats to that. Okay. When hair is transplanted, it doesn't matter which technique, FUE or strip, but when hair is transplanted, there is a period between extraction and implantation that is very important, and that's how the grafts are handled by the technicians. They're using forceps to move them around from dish to dish, from scalp, wherever, and there are very specific ways that they have to grab those grafts. Okay, but there's also the way that they're extracted. They can be damaged. They're also the way that they can be placed into the recipient sites that hopefully the doctor creates, that can also influence how they grow. They can be handled perfectly, from extraction via FUE or strip all the way to implantation, and the size of the incision that the graft is placed into can fuck them up. They can be compressed.
Compressed, yeah.
And what happens when we have compression, think about every show or movie you've ever seen where someone gets wounded. What's the first thing they say? Put pressure on the wound. Why? Because when you put pressure on the wound, that pushes blood away from the wound so that you don't bleed. That's why you put pressure on a wound. So when you place a graft that's too big for the incision, then what happens? You got pressure on that incision or pressure on that graft, and the blood can't get into that area, and you'll have just enough blood that gets to it to where it survives, but not as well as it would have if it had a full nourishing blood supply from the beginning. And that causes hairs to grow kinky, wiry. Like if you have straight hair, I've seen guys with straight, fine hair have transplanted hair that's coarse and wiry, looks like pubic hair. And it's because at some point during the procedure,
that's kind of what mine look like.
Those hairs were damaged.
But I don't have straight hair. Yeah. Yeah. Some of mine are kinky and wiry like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's extreme. And there are cases, a lot of cases where even when everything's done right, the hair can be kind of kinky and wiry the first few months before they settle down and regain their natural luster. The oils the glands aren't damaged, so the oils get back on the hair shaft and nourish it, and it looks good. And you're brushing it and combing it, and they get trained to go back in the right direction or whatever. There are all kinds of things that are involved with this. I mean, I could write a book on it. Maybe I should, but the point is that you can have damage
as he freezes. Right there.
As I freeze, yeah. Another one. Yeah, there it is.
By the way, dude, you should close your legs. I can see your vagina.
I know you ain't talking to me. Yeah, I mean, damage can occur from a procedure along many different points, and and cause issues with hair growth. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Really appreciate it.
Dude, listen, best of luck tomorrow. We'll be thinking about you, believe it or not.
Absolutely.
Because I'm obsessed with all this shit. And I'm really, I am going to speak to Dr. McGrath. So, I just want to make sure, again, that you're completely okay with it.
Yeah, 100% okay.
Okay, good.
Completely okay. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, our relationship is over. Transaction's been completed on both sides. So, whatever you would like to do is fine by me.
All right. I kind of want to get, his side of the story. And obviously, listen, I've spoken to a lot of these guys. Everyone is going to be a little defensive in the office. That's the way that it works. But there's kind of a method to my madness. And I just kind of like to have a conversation about it and see what's said. And I may even want to speak with Steve if Steve makes himself available.
Yeah.
I don't have a relationship with Steve in any way, shape, or form. And, I know him, but not well. So I would love to kind of get the entire picture painted from their end of things.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a good idea because I know that Steve does get a lot of calls now from David's videos because his phone number and everything is posted below all those videos.
Yeah,
and that's what led you to that clinic to begin with.
That's what led me into that. Originally, I was looking only on Hair Restoration Network, and I was reading and doing lots of research. I do tons of research on everything I do, but I ended up calling Steve, and then I don't know what happened. All the research went out the window, and I ended up just talking to him, and then I went down this path.
Would you have gone to a clinic where someone is online talking about their results if that result actually had a wide donor scar?
No.
Yeah. Okay. I'll leave it at that.
No, I wouldn't have. And that was the bad thing. I couldn't find any results from Dr. McGrath on any forums. I couldn't find any. I think mine are the only ones out there. He sent me pictures. He would send me pictures of patients from the office, but that was it.
Yeah.
But he just kept saying he was an amazing doctor. So I was like, okay. And I just kind of went with it, trusting him.
Well, look, man, I'm sorry that you had such a bad experience, and I think tomorrow's experience is going to be much better, and we'll be thinking about you. So
absolutely,
let us know how you do, okay?
Okay. I'll tell Dr. Cooley you say hi.
Absolutely. Tell him we say
hi.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Thanks.
Good luck tomorrow.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. It really bugs me because I do know, and I'm going to listen. This guy has been around for a long time. There was a time when we received, and I'm telling you, my levels are low. I could see it on my.
You sound absolutely normal on this end.
Jesus, I don't know what's going on. I could actually hear it in my headset.
Guys in the chat room, Spencer still sound like he's got good volume. No issues.
I'm curious. I see it in my headset and I see it in my levels, but it's possible that it's coming across just fine. I just want to make sure there's not an issue with my equipment.
Yeah, they're saying you're good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you this. What bothers me the most is what seems to be happening these last year or so in the clinic. So I have to kind of get to the bottom of it. Again, there's not an IHRS member who doesn't have an unhappy patient. But I hate the idea of, if there's an unhappy patient or if there's certain things that seem questionable, I kind of hate that attachment to what we're doing.
Yeah.
If, in fact, all of these things are actually true. And I'm not saying that the caller is by any means stretching the truth. I mean, he's obviously going in for corrective surgery. If he gives me permission at one point, I'd love to speak to Dr. Cooley about his case. And, that could be sometime down the line. But I just want to kind of get a better grasp of exactly what transpired and why things may have transpired.
I think a message for viewers and listeners for the upcoming podcast need to understand is that when you're doing your research and there's one clinic that's saying all of your research is worthless, you need to question that clinic because I mean, there are great clinics out there that do things a little bit different than the next guy. That's different. But when you're doing your research and you're being told something by multiple clinics and your own research, and then the one place that you decide to consider says that all of that's worthless or most of it doesn't apply to your case and what they do, I think it's worth your time to step back and question what you're being told and maybe reach out. Obviously the last caller can't do that, unfortunately now, but I think that anyone listening to this needs to take that to heart and step back and reach out to others and ask their opinion of what you're being told, because there's really no one out there doing something so drastically different from other clinics where a basic amount of research with valuable resources like American Hair Loss Association, IAHRS, Bald Truth Talk, hairlossexperiences.com. No one's doing something so dramatically different where they can disregard your research from those resources, especially if they're part of those resources as well.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. So you owe it to yourself to stop yourself and say, all right, what am I being told and why is it so different than what I've learned? There might be a good reason. Your research may not be extensive enough, but always question everything. I don't care who it's from. If it's from me, question it. If it's from Spencer, question it. If it's from your doctor, question it, verify it, validate it. That's what you need to do, because you don't want to be in a situation like the last caller. I feel so bad for him. I really do. I think that he's in great hands now, but it's a lesson for all of you to learn, and you need to take to heart.
All right, guys, on that note, we're going to close up shop tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and for hanging out in Joe's chat. Guys who asked me about being on GFQ, we're on GFQ right now. I'm just not using their player currently on the Bald Truth, but that will change, I am sure, as things get corrected. And that's it. Listen, the website's thebaldtruth.com. Joe's website, hairtransplantmentor.com. Joe, you might want to mention hair loss experiences again.
Yeah, as always, recently anyway, we want to thank Big Mac, the moderator and administrator of hairlossexperiences.com, UK-based forum. Obviously does have an international reach because everything on the internet does, but that's the focus. That's the primary, I guess, the viewership is UK-based primarily. Very gracious to allow us to stream through his resources. Great resource for you to check out. Great information, great doctors participate. And big shout out to him. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Of course, the American Hair Loss Association, AmericanHairLoss.org. If you are interested in interacting with other hair loss sufferers, you can go to our message forum, which is baldtruthtalk.com. And that's it. Archives of this broadcast, you can watch them on thebaldtruth.com, also on Joe Tillman's YouTube page and on GFQ's YouTube page, which they have a special section for The Bald Truth. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you guys so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.